Welcome back, everybody. This week we're talking about templates, guides, grids, and more in Adobe Photoshop CC. So what a template is a pre-made object that's created in order to give somebody else kind of a head start on creating a project. I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel whenever it comes to something. Why really, you don't need to do extra work. So, for example, if you're hired to create an invitation for somebody, instead of creating an invitation from scratch, start with a invitation template, and then just adjust or modify what's in the template in order to suit your needs. It gives you kind of a head start on getting something done. And Adobe kind of thinks the same way. So when you hit create new, or when you bring up the file new dialog box, if you go to any of these little preset dimensions over here, beneath the blank settings, there are templates for each of them. And most of the ones that are here are free. So if I go to photo, I get a bunch of free photo templates. If I go to print, you can see that I get a bunch of free print templates. If I go to art and illustration, you can see that I get the same, and so on and so forth, depending on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. Pardon my voice, I have allergies right now, so I sound a little nasally. But let's click on one. We'll do one that we can download. So let's do print. Let's go to this poster. We'll say open. It should take a brief moment to download it, and then here we go. So yeah, this one even has instructions on what to do with this template. So it has instructions on the side. Let's pull up our layers, and you can see what we've got. So when you're working with things like templates, it's important to manage or organize your layers so that you know what's going on. And you can see here we've got a lot of things going on. We've got groups. That's what this folder icon is. If you click on the little arrow beside it, or the caret, depending on what you want to call it, you can check out what's in each of those groups. So there's a lot of text, a lot of vector shapes. We've got our tagline, and then we even have clipping masks, smart objects, everything there to help us create this. So this is probably set to where it doesn't print with this on the side, but if we wanted to, we could actually probably crop it out. There's instructions that would tell us what to do, but for the most part, you could probably just look at this and see. Let's see if I have this font. So it looks like I actually do have this font downloaded. If I didn't, I could come up here to my type, to all my list of fonts, and find this font on Adobe Typekit by clicking on the TK. Let's actually do that real quick. When you click on that, TK stands for Typekit. This will open up that folder or that website, and you could search and then find the font and install it for yourself. But I happen to have all the fonts here, even this one, which is also Georgia. So we can now modify this to be our own thing. So let's change this to, let's see, let's find a local band. So we'll search. Oh, cool, let's do Brave Combo. So we'll just say Brave Combo. And sometimes with things such as templates, there are some things that you don't need. So I don't need this ampersand. So I'm just going to find where it is over here, poking its eyeball on and off, and just turn it off. And remember, we are modifying this to make it our own. So I'm going to move the word combo down a little bit. Let's see. And we'll just change this text down here. Highlight what we're going to change. We'll call this a, let's see, live music event. Whoops, I highlighted both. This will say do not want, and we'll just highlight the text we want to change. Denton, Texas. Now this would probably need to adjust or add a time or something like that as well. And I'm also going to change the picture. So if you'll remember, to adjust pictures, you double click the smart object. That pulls it up here. Let's search Brave Combo. Get out of all caps. And I know that I have personally taken photos of Brave Combo before. This is one that I've taken, as is this. Here's one of mine on the cover of Texas Polka News. Let's go back. All right, we'll copy this one, come back here to Photoshop, paste it over it, resize it so that it fits. We are just making this template our own. It's probably going to be good enough. Save this, close it. We've dealt with the same type of thing when we've used mock-ups before, but now we're using it with templates. Now it's updating my smart object, and there we go. I would probably adjust a little bit more of this. So now, let's see, let's select this text. So this is in the title. I'm going to collapse that group. We can see that that folder contains everything right there. So I'm going to go to my Move tool, make sure I have that folder selected, and we will just move that down so that it no longer kind of covers up his whole entire face. I would probably adjust this a little bit more. We could put maybe a gradient map on top of Carl Finch here. Maybe we'll change our colors. Because that's the thing about templates. It's a starting point for you. It doesn't necessarily need to be the end-all, be-all. It's just somewhere to begin. It gives you a head start on creating something. I'm not sure I really like this color palette we've developed here, but we definitely could use it. We'll do something more red. There we go. And that's easy to read, easy to see. I would maybe clip it to just the picture so we still have the border there. And I would maybe adjust the text too. Adjusting the leading now between my lines of text. We'll do another space here, and we'll type in the date. So let's say this is April. We'll just put this weekend, 28th, 2019. We can adjust the leading here. I'm just holding Alt. Actually, we could just highlight this. I'm holding Alt or Option and hitting my arrow keys, but you could also do this through the character panel. So here we go. We've made our own little flyer here for a show. I should probably put that in all caps. I would crop this to be just that. But that's, we use the template here. It doesn't look exactly the way the template started off at the beginning, but it was a starting point for us. Let's try this with something else. I have other templates that I've already downloaded. Let's go to this one. So let's say that this was an invitation for somebody's birthday party. So what would we want to modify here? Let's see. It's not an engagement celebration. Oh, okay. So here we go. I don't have this font. This font is called Haymaker. Let's see. So it's got it in brackets here because I don't have it. I'm going to go to Typekit. We'll close down these Brave Combo tabs. And I'm going to search for the font Haymaker. So that font is not in Typekit. I would encourage you, if you're choosing a font to include in your, let's see, let's pay $0, download. There we go, we got it anyway. It would have been nice if we paid them $1, but we didn't. If you're choosing a font when you're making a template, try to make it something that is easy to find and to use for other people. We'll close this. Now if I go back to Photoshop, because that one wasn't in Typekit, it was a little bit harder for us to get. It still thinks we don't have it, but we'll just go ahead and, oh, cool, it did update it. So it's not an engagement celebration. We'll just say birthday, birthday celebration. Make it a little bit bigger. It's a strange size. Let's say 28. Normally when you're adjusting fonts, you want the size of your type to be an actual whole number. Please join us for a birthday celebration. So when I'm dragging these things around, what the magenta lines that you're seeing are actually called smart guides. If you don't see yours, you want to go to the view menu, go to show, and make sure that smart guides is checked. You can see that if I uncheck it and move this around, they don't show up. But if I go to view, show, and check smart guides, those little magenta lines will show up, and they're showing me how this layer interacts with the other layers around it. So not necessarily how it interacts with, but how it aligns, how it looks in comparison to the other ones. So we're not going to have barbecue. We could, whoops, let's see, is the word barbecue, let's find which group it's in. This one's not as well organized as the other one. There we go. And that is not editable text. So this one, we're kind of stuck with the word barbecue, but we're going to take that away. Let's put something else there. I like barbecue, and I would ideally like to leave it, but let's say something else. Let's say tacos. And I'm going to highlight my font, my type here. We're going to change the color. We'll just make it that same color, so we'll use our eyedropper tool. We'll make it a lot bigger. Let's make it even bigger than that. Let's make it even bigger than that. Let's just type in 100. There we go. Put it right here. I'm not sure what font that one was, but we can choose something that we feel like looks good with the other fonts that we already have. Remember, you can click on a font and then cycle through them to compare. I kind of like the circus one. Let's actually leave that for now. If we wanted that same effect that the other type had, we transform our type. We could go to warp. Let's try, I think that one might have been like this. Just like arch. There we go. So it's honoring, it's a birthday celebration. So we'd probably just leave one name here. Let's make up a person. Let's say John. We'll just do a really generic name, Smith. Now we're going to get rid of this ampersand right here because, once again, we are modifying this template to make it our own, and we don't even need this text. So we will just get rid of the text. We can move everything around, too. Let's see. Here's a little trick. Oh, that's not it. I'm going to zoom way in. I'm going to hold Command or Control and click on certain objects. I selected that one. I'm going to move that there. I'll hold Command or Control, click on that guy, move him over there. We'll Command or Control click these words, move them over here. That's how you can quickly select things. You can also just turn on auto select up there, but I find that auto select oftentimes gets in my way, so I just like to hold Command or Control and click on things to do this manually. There we go. So now we can put this maybe behind John Smith. Once again, we are just using this to make it our own. We can select that text. Maybe we'll add a layer style to it. We'll do like a stroke. We'll make the stroke the same color. Make it outside maybe a little bit smaller. There we go. And we can copy that layer style. Let's see. And paste it onto the other one. What we're adding the stroke that's the same color to the background, just to make it the words pop out a little bit. I would actually say Smith is a little bit too small. Let's make it 24. Let's make John a little bit bigger too. Such strange numbers. 44. There we go. Still might be a little bit hard to read on the Smith, so we could make that a little bit bigger. Make it 28. There we go. Honoring John Smith. Sunday, let's keep our April days going. April 28th at 4 o'clock, that's fine. But we could change it to a time more appropriate for dinner. Let's say 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. That at is a little bit close, so I'm going to move it up. Put down your address or your location where it's going to go. Oh, we don't have that font, so it's going to replace it. Let's use this same font. What was this one? This was Circus. So let's make this Circus. We'll say John's house. Not sure why the whole thing didn't change to Circus, but that's okay. We're just modifying this to make it our own. That's all we're doing. We could go through the rest. I'm not going to make you guys watch me go through all the way and do these things. I would probably change these animals to be a taco. If I were doing that, I would probably just search taco vector. I wish one of those was built into Photoshop, but it's not. You can also just search taco icon. Let's go with this guy. Nice looking little taco there. Copy them, come back here to Photoshop. Let's get rid of those guys first. So we will select them, get rid of that. Get rid of that too. Poke out their eyeballs, paste our taco. Make sure he's in that little group. Ideally, if we want this to be organized better, let's see. This one is not a great one because when it's completely collapsed, we don't know where things are. This is a little bit overly complicated. So this, we can toggle the eyeball on and off. We would call this date on left. This appears to be the name. And this is the banner. There we go. And everything else is just kind of undone there. Now, if I wanted to make this a little bit easier, we could right-click it and apply a color to each of these things so that they become a little bit easier to spot. So now when I'm looking through these, I can tell what is what. So now they've got names, they've got colors. We are much more organized on these. I would actually probably ungroup all of these because I don't know why those are in there. This envelope is there, so I would put that maybe with the person's name. We'll put this with the banner. Tacos can go with the banner. This one we're no longer using. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is either. And then this is the background, so we'll just call it background. And I actually think I pasted my taco background and our animals. That's fine, our taco's in there. Okay, so I'm going to select our taco layer. We're going to get rid of the white background on him. There we go. Get the opposite of our selection. Select inverse, mask it out. There we go. And then I would probably just add a black and white adjustment layer to this and clip it just to that layer. So there is our taco. We can maybe make him a little bit larger because we don't have the stacks of animals. We just have the single taco here. If we wanted to, we could also even rotate him. Not sure if we want to have and it might not read as much of a taco when it's black and white, but it is there. We can change this to, let's get rid of this text. We'll assume that they know where we live. It looks like I did move the background a little bit, so we can move that back where it's supposed to go. Once again, if you just need a reminder, we are taking templates and adjusting them to make them kind of do what we need them to do. And if I wanted to make this a little bit of my own, I could still just at the very top, if I didn't want it to be black and white, we could put a gradient map on everything. Maybe we want it to be very colorful. That's awful. There's those colors. You can just see how things get modified depending on what you do. That looks a little bit more interesting to me. It's very blue now. And so we took this template and we very quickly changed it from this to that. That's what using a template is. A very easy example of the same type of thing would be using a resume template. If you want a professional looking resume, you use a resume template. Now, when I open this one up, you might see that it has all these lines on it. What these are called, what these things are doing is these are guidelines. Those are under, once again, the View menu. If I go to View, New Guide, you can see that I can create a vertical guide wherever I want. If I want one right here at 5 inches, I type in 5IN and hit OK. That one shows up. If I want it to go away, hover over it, drag it away, and it's gone. You can also create a guide by viewing your ruler first, which is View, check Rulers. Or you can hit Command or Control R to display your rulers, and you can drag them out wherever you want them to be. Rulers help you place things so you know exactly where they are. So in this example, it's helping us line up our text over here. You can also do this with smart guides, but this is maybe just a faster example. And you can see where everything is. So yeah, if you were ever working on something, like let's close this out, and we'll say File, New. Maybe we're working on a web banner. So we'll make a 1,000 pixel wide, 250 pixel tall banner. Here we go. And we will make a solid color background layer that's white. If I needed to place a logo here at exactly like 200 pixels from the left border, I could go to View, New Guide, and just say we'll make a vertical guide because it's going to go up and down. We'll type in 200px and hit OK, and it puts a vertical guide at 200 pixels. Now that's about, my ruler is currently set to inches. I can right-click it and set it to pixels. You can see it's exactly 200. You can also set it to centimeters, millimeters, points, or if you're working with like layout software, you can do picas, and there's also percentage. If you ever want to know exactly where halfway through your image is, say View, New Guide. Let's do a horizontal one, and we'll say we want it at 50%. So I'll type in a percent sign and say OK. Now that is exactly halfway through my image. That would help me adjust things. It also kind of helps me select. If I wanted to just select half of it and make it black, I can now say New Solid Color Layer. And there we go. Let's do the same thing. View, New Guide again. Let's make this one vertical at 50%. So that's exactly the middle here. Let's check this. And now we will maybe make a curve layer and invert it. And there we go. So that's our fun little thing there. Guidelines are there. You can drag them out from the ruler. You can place them very specific locations. Like if I were creating, maybe I were printing a picture, I'm going to make a, I've actually had to do this exact thing recently. Let's make a 11 by 14 document. If we're printing, the resolution is always going to be 300. And if I want my document or my picture to be exactly in the middle, maybe an 8 by 10, I would change my ruler to inches, and then I would drag, or let's do this. Let's say View, New Guide. Let's make a vertical guide at 2 inches and a vertical guide at 9 inches. And we'll drag one in from the top, and you can kind of see. And it tells you exactly where it is. It's hard to get it pretty precise. That one actually was. The more you zoom in, the more precise it will be. What's 2 inches from here? So that would be 12. So we can drag in a guideline there too. So now I know that I have a 2-inch border all around this. So if I place a picture here, I would want it to be exactly in the middle. I could get that selection. Maybe fill it with a solid color so I know what that looks like. Anyway, so that was a little bit about templates. We also talked about rulers. We talked about guidelines. We haven't talked about grids yet, but we made things our own using templates. Next video, we're going to be creating our own templates and talking a little bit more about smart guides and guidelines and grids.